I come from a pretty traditional sculpture background in the sense that I spent 4 years in art school, literally just making things. To hand make something means you're gonna process it. Like, it comes into your head, and then it moves through your body, and then it gets pushed back out into the world. I'm interested in how objects reflect cultural moments. And I think I'm trying to figure out, why we value what we value. So with the Counterfeit crochet project, I invited crochet crafters from all over the world to join me in bootlegging designer handbags. The invitation was to choose a designer handbag that you would like to own but couldn't afford, download an image from it online, and then using your own crochet crafting skills, hand make it. And interestingly, it touched a nerve, and lots of people started to join up and then send me photographs of themselves with their handmade bags. It was fun and lighthearted, but invariably what would happen was, we would have these really great discussions about everything from the hierarchy of the fashion system to, global counterfeiting schemes. I think one of the reasons I got interested in this idea of like bootlegs or counterfeits is actually, it's an extension from this idea that there is an authentic. And, from a very personal standpoint, I was really curious about what it meant to be an authentic Filipino. I was thinking a lot about historical ethnographic photography, specifically images I'd seen taken in the Philippines. So the whole series is made in Omaha, Nebraska, which I think is hilarious. And I had gone to the shopping malls and using my credit card purchased mass consumer goods, took them back to my studio and then styled them. And then returned them all to the department stores for full store credit. So it was kind of this way of thinking about what we want to consume in those images, partaking in it, but then also denying it. This is something that, it's a portrait of my mother and myself not long after we moved to the US from the Philippines. And then for my birthday, she decided to take me to Disneyland. And so this photograph is actually, I think, in the frontier land where you can pay to have your portrait taken after you put on all these Western costumes. I think, at the time, we were trying on these fictional identities of what it might have looked like to be a new American. Also, it's an amazing portrait. Like, my mom is 22 years old here, and she looks beautiful, and I'm this angry little 4-year-old. The title of my next exhibition is called Citizens. I think there's always been embedded politics in my work, whether it's issues of colonialism or capitalism. But given recent politics, I've been really trying to figure out how to actually put it more at the forefront.
Ready to fight! Damn right! Ready to fight! Damn right!
The Bay Area has been a real flashpoint for a lot of recent protests, and so I feel like I've been in the middle of it. You watch the news, you watch images flashing by, and you're kind of trying to process it all.
We need to figure out how wide the actual banner is.
And I was noticing that this one particular banner kept popping up. And depending on how it was held up or how it was being displayed, you could, or in some cases, could not read the text.
Cool.
And so I downloaded those images and then, traced it on the computer, projected it onto a larger piece of fabric, and then hand sewed it.
It says become ungovernable. And it's kind of, I feel like the banner itself is becoming ungovernable. Like, it's got loose ends, it's got, the text itself is kind of like falling off the page. So it's trying to kind of embody that, that inability to be controlled.
One of the problems, I think, with slogans is that people think they already know what the slogan means. And so you can either shut off to it or you can, nod your head in agreement. So when I was using these images of protests, I was more interested in actually how they're filtered through media channels. In a lot of my projects, I'm really interested in this connection between the analog and the digital. So I decided to create this huge hand-sewn, quilted checkerboard background. And it resembles a Photoshop transparency background. When you cut out an image in Photoshop, Photoshop will put in this really weird, checkerboard pattern. It's actually to point out this idea that, digital culture is not neutral. That simply because there's a computer involved doesn't mean that there isn't human labor.
Yeah, let me go hand that to you. Yeah, I think we could try something like this.
I feel like I'm constantly making things. And I do feel like I have this ratio that I've worked out where I call it the sort of 80-20 ratio, where 80% of what I make is kind of crap, but somehow I have to produce it to get to the 20%, which is successful.
It's kind of like rubble, but not really.
Did y'all buy the fabric this color?
Yeah, so this is Chroma Key fabric, the green screen.
I've been gravitating to working with Chroma Key, which is this awful acid color. I'm standing in front of a green Chroma Key screen. Anything that you photograph or shoot in front of this screen, you can put in any type of backdrop, you can create a fantasy scene. And so thinking about both politics and social strife and everything that's kind of permeated and saturated everything, now it's just this kind of constant in our backgrounds. What does that mean to then use Chroma Key as the literal subject instead of ignoring it?
Want to grab that one, Jerome?
So I became a US citizen when I was 26 years old. Despite having lived here since I was 3, I had to kind of make that decision and then go through the process of the citizenship test.
All right, I am Anne. Awesome.
I was thinking a lot about a 1942 photograph taken by Dorothea Lange. And she had taken a photograph of an Oakland storefront where a Japanese American had a business there. And upon the notification for Japanese internment, he had put up a sign in the window that just proclaimed, "I am an American."
Let's do the scrunching.
The idea that citizenship can be given and also taken away was something that really interested me. Because I do feel like there's been a lot of reckoning with people having to struggle with what it means to be an American today. Like, what do we stand for? What can we become? My current studio is located in a really industrial part of the Bay. It overlooks San Francisco, actually, so just looking out over the water, you can see it at a distance. I grew up in that city. I relocated to Oakland 4 years ago because I couldn't afford to stay in San Francisco anymore. The Bay Area can be a really wonderful kind of fermenting space for artists. not because it's easy to live here, because it's not easy to live here. But there are ways that artists can create community and spaces for themselves here. If we're to look at the complexity of our contemporary culture, our political moment, our lived realities, I want my work to be as complicated as well, that there isn't just one way to look at it, that depending on your perspective, you'll see it a different way. And I also wanted to inhabit contradictions.
All right, fierce.
And so, looking at images of protest, we created these composite characters. And so they're fictions. Black-clad individuals are usually associated with, a kind of very direct action. Is it a character that one finds problematic? Or is it something that might elicit even, some empathy? There's a portrait of someone covered in a very sheer gray and white checkerboard pattern. The portrait is of a person who is undocumented. It's a difficult thing for me to talk about, actually, because given the state of our contemporary political situation, that person could be taken at any minute. Depending on how you read that image, it's about either their removal or about their protection. One really important possibility for art is that it is a recording device. It's a subjective one, but it's a device that somehow through an individual or a group of individuals processes a situation in the world and then creates a subjective viewpoint of that as evidence. I do not think at all that my work in and of itself is actually going to change the system. What I'm interested in, though, is somehow reflecting a possibility. What I'm doing is kind of like absorbing and processing the world around me, and it's becoming political. I don't think I have a choice anymore. It's just my reality.
To learn more about Art21 and our educational resources, please visit us online at pbs.org/art21. Art in the 21st Century, Season 9 is available on DVD. To order, visit shop.pbs.org or call 1-800-PLAY-PBS. This program is also available for download on iTunes.